Welcome to another installment of the United Way's Community Impact Series, Advancing the Common Good. My name is Katie Gallagher, and I'm the marketing specialist at the United Way of the Lewis and Clark area. With us today, we have Betsy Miller. Betsy has been on the show with us multiple times before, and you're with the ReadyMontana program in the Governor's Office of Community Service. So can you share what that program does?
Sure. The ReadyMontana program focuses on individual and community preparedness. So we just encourage everyone in Montana to be prepared for the major disasters in the state. So it's wildfires, floods, earthquakes, and any other local hazards.
All right, we know wildfire season is coming up, and there's actually been a lot of earthquakes in the Helena area. If people have seen in the news, they've been small, but people have definitely felt them.
That's right, yeah, and luckily, they haven't been large enough to cause any structural damage, but it is a reminder that we're in a seismic zone and earthquakes can happen at any time.
Yeah.
1935, a large earthquake, I believe it was 6.3 magnitude, damaged a lot of structures in Helena. So again, just be aware that we are in an earthquake area and secure items in your home so that they're not falling if an earthquake were to happen.
Yeah, and so we talked about earthquakes, flooding. Obviously, spring is coming. Flooding may occur, especially in the Helena Valley. But wildfires are definitely the thing on people's mind as we go into the summer months. And so are there any predictions for the wildfire season or what the next few months are going to look like? I mean, the snow is melted off the ground and it certainly feels like spring out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, things can always change, but right now, the National Weather Service is looking at the 3-month outlook, and in Montana, it's looking to be warmer than average and drier than average. So, of course, we'll still probably have some snowstorms, but overall, they're looking at warmer and drier temperatures, which could just be an early start for wildfire season.
Yeah, and so the United Way is involved in disaster and emergency preparedness here in the community because if a disaster emergency does occur, whether it's an earthquake or a wildfire or even a disaster like in 1989 with the train wreck, it impacts the entire community. And we know that the most vulnerable people in the community are impacted the most. And so can you speak to a little bit about what people can do to prepare themselves for wildfire season?
Sure. Well, for wildfires and for every emergency, we encourage people to have some items in their home for an emergency supply kit. So you want to have at least 3 days worth of food and water in particular. A first aid kit is always handy, and any special medications or medical equipment that you might need, like oxygen. And then we also encourage people to have a communication plan, because if a wildfire or an earthquake were to happen in the middle of the day, how are you going to get in touch with your family and friends and let them know that you're okay? So having that communication plan in place and maybe having a community meeting place where all of your family members will gather in the event of a disaster. And wildfires specifically, we really encourage landowners who are living kind of in that wildland urban interface, primarily in the South Hills and out in the gulches. We want them to look at their property and consider doing some fuel mitigation, especially in these warm February weekends. It's a great time to get out there and clear up some of those loose piles of dead branches and clear some of those fuels so that your property is more likely to do well in a wildfire.
And we know that if you're a property owner, you don't have to cut down all of your trees to mitigate your home, but it is good to do some mitigation in the area surrounding your home or other buildings that you care about. And so is there any assistance available in the community with cost? We know that taking down trees is an expensive endeavor.
Yeah, absolutely. Tri-County Fire Safe Montana, they do have a program where they can help homeowners and landowners with some of those mitigation costs. And Pat McKelvey here in Helena is a great person to reach out with if you have any questions.
All right, and he retired recently from the county. He's still involved. So I think, folks, is it 447-8285, I think is the best number to get information on wildfire mitigation, but also flood. So can you speak a little bit about preparedness for floods? Should people have insurance?
Sure.
How can people that live out in the valley, maybe near 10 Mile Creek, prepare themselves and their families?
Yeah, absolutely. And, yes, we are looking at a warmer and drier spring, but the snowpack is still about at normal, so we are still looking at a normal runoff this spring, and if we have a big rainstorm associated with that, there could be some flooding that goes along with that melt. So we do encourage folks, again, to have that kit and to look at their property, especially if they're out in the valley, because a lot of that runoff is just going to come right down the hill towards them.
And it's happened before, and so definitely being prepared for that and aware of the resources available to families that live out in the valley is critically important. Is there opportunities in the local community? So if you're a landowner, we're saying mitigate. If you are a renter or anybody in the Helena community, definitely having a kit for those earthquakes or even home fires, right? To have that communication plan. Where is your family going to meet if your house catches on fire? But is there opportunities for people locally to volunteer to assist with disaster preparedness?
Yeah, absolutely. And the American Red Cross is always looking for volunteers. So if you're really interested in getting some training and learning some of those skills that you can take to a disaster response area, whether it's a home fire or a flood, the American Red Cross is a great place to go. And then the United Way Volunteer Helena website is also a great place to look.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that the Salvation Army is also growing their volunteer efforts. So if that's somewhere where you want to go to help with disaster preparedness, that's definitely the place. United Way can not emphasize enough the importance of being affiliated ahead of a disaster. It's great that we have Volunteer Helena, but that affiliation ahead of time, from our perspective, is really, really important. And I know the Red Cross is involved in a number of projects here in the local community. They were just out at the plunge event at Spring Meadow State Park, and so great opportunity to see nonprofits working together to increase awareness around disasters.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else going on in the community as wildfire season approaches that people can learn more information about disasters and emergencies?
Yeah, actually there's an event coming up next month. March 19th is a Saturday. Okay. There's going to be a wildfire preparedness event here in Helena. Folks can call Paul Spengler, 447-8285, to get more information about the location and time of that. But they'll have the fire department, they'll have individuals who can give more information about what fire mitigation looks like. Everybody will be there to answer any questions, and I believe there will be some free prizes as well.
Some swag.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. So again, from the United Way's perspective, we really encourage people that live in the Helena community, whether you're up in the South Hills or out in the valley, to prepare for a disaster emergency ahead of time, because disasters and emergencies impact the entire community, and it's definitely something that's important for the safety of you and your family, and again, to volunteer and to reach out to help your neighbors in need if disaster does strike. So thank you for joining us today, Betsy.
Yeah, thank you for having me.